Please subscribe, like, and share. It really helps us out. And of course, if you have any questions, comment below, and we will answer you as soon as we can. Welcome to this video in our series on IB economics. Today we are looking at your internal assessment. More specifically, in today's lesson, we will be learning about evaluation and analysis. If you haven't seen our previous videos, click on the card above.
Evaluation is a very important concept in economics. It is what you do when you have finished analyzing. By analyzing we mean giving your definitions, explanations, examples, and diagrams. Show how the theories relate to the question and explain the theories. Basically, analyzing is drawing out the theory, and then evaluation is drawing your conclusions and also challenging the analysis. The hard part about all of this is making sure that you say enough in your analysis and in your evaluation. So you don't forget, remember to do the deed when you analyze and then clasp it all together when you're evaluating. On your essay questions and data response questions on your exams, you'll need to evaluate. But you don't need to evaluate in your short answer questions.
A CLASPP is something that holds things together. But, in this case, spelled with 2 P's, so the acronym makes sense. It stands for the 6 types of evaluation in IB economics. Conclusions. Long-term and short-term effects. Assumptions. Stakeholders. Priorities. Pros and cons. Use at least 3 of these in your Part B questions. Personally, I recommend to my students that they try to use stakeholders, assumptions each time and include a third one of their choice. We always care a lot about stakeholder effects, and assumptions is impressive because it shows that you really understand the theory. What is evaluation? Economic theories, for example, in our diagrams, always suggest certain things are true. Like that price ceilings will result in shortages. However, our field is full of interesting nuances. For example, price ceilings might not always result in shortages in certain circumstances. The economy is not a simple machine. And that's why we evaluate. There are always uncertainties and priorities to consider about the effects of a given policy. Remember that in your internal assessment, you're almost always looking at the possible effects of a certain policy decision. The simple presentation of the theory you did in the analysis section needs to be challenged now and explored in more depth. That's what we're doing when we evaluate. We're looking at all the ways the theory might be wrong. And we're explaining the other relevant considerations we need to take into account when deciding whether or not the policy will be a good one. Here's a list of things you can write about.
Conclusions. This is the basic one, where you're explaining the simple insights of the theory and the diagram you presented before. What can we conclude from the theory that you've explained in your analysis? What is the basic relationship between the aspects that you compared in your diagram? For example, what happens to price and consumption when the price ceiling is introduced? Long-term and short-term effects. Is the change good in the short term, but over a few years, it could have undesirable consequences? Over time, many suppliers may move out of the industry, as they have an insufficient willingness or ability to sell for the amount dictated by the price ceiling. Will the policy be really hard on people in the short run, but it fixes the long-term problem? Will this policy fix one problem, but create another?
Assumptions. Are there some assumptions being made that the theory depends on that may not hold true? This is the same as ceteris paribus. The assumption that all other things are being held equal, when in fact they might not stay constant. Explain what might change and how that would affect your analysis. Tell us the weaknesses in the theory. What is unrealistic about the theory? Stakeholders. What effects would this policy have on the government, consumers, producers, and the rest of society? Suppliers suffer, while consumers benefit from a price ceiling, as long as suppliers continue to provide the goods. Policies, like our price ceiling, are often made with particular stakeholders in mind, so are their undesirable effects on other parties. Is the policy great for some groups, but bad for others?
Priorities. Discussing the priorities of a society, or the government is also a good way to keep things in perspective. A policy like subsidizing schools is good for families, good for the long-term macroeconomy, but is perhaps unfair for taxpayers who don't have children. New policies should reflect the true priorities of society. Is there an important normative, a values aspect, that the policy change is assuming? Pros and cons. What are the advantages and disadvantages of this policy? What are the costs and the benefits of this? What are the arguments for and the arguments against this? Think about this to double-check that you haven't left anything out in the preceding evaluation.
Thank you for watching our video. Please like, subscribe and share. And comment below so we can clarify things for you.